really hope you had a chance to story of the Lorax. You can find it on YouTube. If you have it in your home library, that's even better. But in the slideshow that I put up on the website, it shows you the story and it shows you how the Lorax got so sad that his habitat was being destroyed. And because it was being destroyed, he had to leave. He had to take all of his friends with him. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new escape or a new habitat for the Lorax and all of his friends to go to. So if you think back to when we did the pumpkin landscape, we talked about how the foreground is in the front, the middle ground is in the middle, and the background is in the back. Okay, as things get closer, they're going to get bigger, and as they get further away, they're going to look smaller. So Dr. Seuss even used that in his illustrations. So we're going to create an imaginary landscape. So we're going to use our imagination, but we're going to use things like perspective, things getting bigger and smaller, to make our landscape look realistic as well. So to get started, most landscapes, we turn our paper side to side. If you want to do it that way, you may. I'm going to turn mine portrait for this project, just so that I can get some really tall trees in there. Okay, so he has all these truffula trees in his landscapes that were being cut down. So we're going to create our own, and yours can look like the truffula trees. Now, if we were in class, we would be drawing it with the pencil, like you always should do, and then we would trace with Sharpie. In the project, we would color with crayon on the small details, and then we would paint the sky and we'd paint the ground with watercolor so that it resists. If you have watercolor at home, you can go ahead and you can try this out. Remember, crayon and watercolor are not going to mix because oil and water are going to resist. We're going to use that perspective. So anything that's growing down here is going to be really big, and then it's going to get medium, and then it's going to get small. Okay, so I'm just going to do the example with you today using pencil and crayon. So if you don't have watercolor at home or if you don't have Sharpies at home, that's fine. So our big hill here needs to be at least 4 finger spaces tall. My fingers near the bottom of my hand or my finger, and you can use your whole hand as well. I'm just going to draw a curvy line all the way from one side to the other side of my paper. Then to make the medium hill, it's going to be just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to draw again from one side to the other, and then my background hill is going to be nice and tiny, and I'm going to make it kind of hilly in the background. Okay, so I have my big foreground, my medium middle ground, and my small background. Now, because we're going to be using overlap in our landscape, we're going to start by drawing in the background. So my trees in the background are only going to be about this tall. Okay, very teeny tiny. So I'm going to draw 2 curvy lines right next to each other. And then I'm going to draw my truffula tree. Now, if you don't know how to draw a truffula tree, you can make up your own trees, can't you? Okay, see how this is overlapping the hill here? I'm going to draw some more that are a little bit smaller. I'm going to draw some branches coming out, just curvy lines. Remember, Dr. Seuss has all kinds of imaginary things in his landscape. So yours does not need to look like mine at all. It does not need to look realistic even. And then even back here, I could draw some small trees. To create a truffula tree, it's just some zigzags like it's firework. Okay, then I'm going to go into the medium. So in our habitat, animals all need 3 main things. They need food, they need water, and they need shelter. So in the Lorax, the trees acted as the food and shelter for a lot of the animals. The only thing that they were missing was some water. So the hummingfish had their own little lake. So if you want to draw a lake in the background or the middle ground, feel free to do so. I'm going to draw one right here, and it's going to come from the edge of my paper. Again, yours does not have to look like mine. So I'm going to draw a really skinny oval that comes around like this. And then I can draw some grass coming around my water source, so that my hummingfish have somewhere to go, right? And then in the middle ground, my trees are going to be a little bit bigger. So again, they're going to overlap. Here's my truffula tree coming up like this. And I want to make sure that my medium trees are bigger than the ones in the background, right? So you notice I'm not even going to bother doing details quite yet or erasing anything quite yet. So maybe I put some more grass over here. Maybe there's some grass in front here. I could add another tree. It could go off the page. Like that. And then I'm going to use this foreground area to draw some really tall trees. Okay, they could even go off the page. But again, it's going to overlap that middle ground area. So this tree here, I'm actually drawing it all the way on top of this lake area, which is just fine because we're going to erase things we don't need later. So inside this tree here, it's overlapping. Would I see this grass through my trees like that? No. So I'm going to go ahead and erase that. So once you finish drawing, start erasing things you don't need. That's why we always draw light until we get it right. So now it looks like this tree is in front of this water and this hill. You do the same thing in all of your trees or flowers or whatever you have drawn in your landscape, your new habitat for the Lorax and his friends. So I'm going to make this tree just a little bit poofier. I'm going to add some more truffula fluffs on there. And once you're finished, if you go and you can look in the story of the Lorax, or you can even go online and onto YouTube, and they usually will have, if you search, you could probably find out how to draw the Lorax down here. Excuse me. I don't remember what he looks like right off the top of my head, but this would be a great space for the Lorax. Or you could draw some creative bushes to take up the space down here. Maybe there's some fruit on these bushes for the bears, or little flowers on the bushes. It's really up to your imagination. Whatever habitat you think the Lorax and his friends need. And then if you have a Sharpie, you can go ahead and trace and color small things in with crayon. And if you have watercolor, you could use that in the background. You see how my clouds are showing up. I use the white crayon and the blue watercolor paints. If you don't have that and all you have is crayons, that is just fine. I'm going to show you a really cool trick to make it look like things in the background are farther away. As things get further away, they get smaller, but they also get lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add some details to my trees, maybe texture, some curvy and bumpy lines to make it look like texture in my trees. Zigzag lines make it look rough. Okay, so when we hold our crayon, remember we hold it like a pencil and we do little finger ups and downs. So I'm going to take this this orange and I'm going to hold it like a crayon and I'm going to do my little finger ups and downs, making sure that we fill in all of those white spaces. Take your time. This is not going to take just one sitting down to do. See how I'm filling those little spaces in? There's one little spot. One trick that I'm going to show you. If you don't have the watercolors, that's okay. If you don't have crayons and you just have markers, that's okay. But one really cool trick is if these things are in the background, they're going to be lighter. So if I use this orange again for one of these truffula trees, I'm going to make sure that I color it softly. I'm still doing little finger ups and downs and I'm still coloring in all of those white spaces, but I'm just not pushing super duper hard. So you see how that's nice and light and this is dark because I pressed harder? And then things in the middle ground are going to be medium. So we have dark, we have light, and then we have a little bit softer than the foreground, but a little bit harder than the background. You can always make it a little bit darker if you need to. Make that just a smidge darker in some of those spots. Okay? So remember, you are more than welcome to send emails to me with your pictures. I love to see them, but you don't have to if you can't. I really hope to see you guys soon, and we'll review this again when we get back into class. So I hope you guys are having fun, and I hope you guys are staying safe. Bye.